Hi, I hope you are doing well today and have had a good week. The last time I did an advanced vocabulary video using the news, it performed very well, and I think I got a lot of good feedback on it. A lot of people really liked that style of video. I think you find these more challenging videos more helpful. One thing that was requested of me was to talk about the war and politics. Now, initially, I didn't want to create a video on that because I felt it would have been wrong. I'm not in a country where we are experiencing war, so it could have been seen as wrong or insensitive for me to sit here and talk to you about war and political situations going on in the world. However, one thing I have always said throughout all my videos is I want to give you as much knowledge and vocabulary and information as possible to go forward and have difficult conversations with your colleagues, with your friends, with strangers, to stand up for yourself, to give your opinion. There's nothing worse than wanting to share your opinion and not having the right word. It's very frustrating, especially when we're talking about sensitive topics that are affecting our home countries or people that we love. So I've thought long and hard about this, and I think I found a way that I can give you this vocabulary in a way that is sensitive. It's not going to upset or offend anyone. And of course, it's not going to hurt anyone. And just as a disclaimer now, if I see any comments are rude, are attacking a particular group of people, I will be deleting them. This channel is for English learners. We all have the ability, the opportunity to learn a new language, change our lives, move to another country. We are all human. We all have hopes, we all have dreams, we all have fears and worries. So please bear in mind that what you write in your comments will be seen by other people. Convict or convicted. To convict someone or a group of people is to hold them responsible for a crime, to say, yes, they've done the crime, and this is the punishment for that crime. At the moment, we are seeing a lot of political leaders, a lot of politicians being held responsible, being convicted of crimes that they have done in the past. In the past, it wasn't so common for such powerful people to be punished for their crimes. But we are now seeing more people being convicted for crimes that they have committed. Propaganda. Now, you will hear or see this a lot. And propaganda is information and news put out by one particular group of people to discredit, to undermine, to make another group of people seem not believable, not truthful, not trustworthy. So often when we have a political debate, we see propaganda put out by both sides. One side will say this person has done this in the past, don't vote for them. Another person will say this person is lying to you, don't believe anything they say. And often propaganda is related to the war, or wars, I should say, because governments can control their countries by putting out propaganda about the country that they are attacking, about the group of people that they are attacking. And honestly, there's no way to tell if something is propaganda or if it's real. You just have to do your own research. Not believe everything that is on the internet. Fact check. Google, ask ChatGPT if you need to. Propaganda is very believable. So in order to make sure you are not believing propaganda, you need to do your research when you get new information. Disparage. To disparage something, someone, or something someone says is to give it not a lot of worth, to not value it. So if somebody came in my comments section and was saying that I'm not a qualified English teacher or what I was saying is untrue, they would be disparaging me as a teacher. It's to take away value from something. So my example that I've put on the screen is very helpful for describing this one. She was charged, or you could say convicted, with disparaging the Russian military. So what she was saying was lowering the value of the Russian military. It can be used almost as a synonym for criticizing, but it's a bit more than criticizing, because criticizing, you are just saying, this is my opinion, I don't like you, or I don't believe you. Whereas disparaging is trying to show others that this person, this body of people, this group does not have as much value or worth as we think they do. Activist. Actually, activist is not always related to war and politics, because you can be an activist on any topic at all. An activist is someone that actively goes out and tries to change something, prove something. So you can have anti-war activists, anti-racism activists, anti-sexism activists. Anytime a group of people get together to try and change laws, or to try and raise awareness or bring attention to a particular topic, they can be considered activists. And I'm sure you've probably all heard of the climate change activists in the UK. Now, whether you agree or disagree with what this group of people is doing, it doesn't really matter, because what they are trying to do is draw attention to the topic and keep people talking about the topic. That is their main goal. Scrutiny. Now, to scrutinize is to look at something in detail and try and find something wrong with it. So you're not just looking at something, you are specifically looking to criticize or find a fault, find a flaw in what you are looking at. And this can be a good thing if, for example, you work in a place where everything needs to be perfect all of the time. If you scrutinize somebody's work, you are trying to find small mistakes before the customer or client sees those mistakes. However, scrutiny, when we talk about politics and government, mean they are actively trying to find something wrong with what you are doing. And it's not really a positive thing, because of course, if they find something wrong, you can't continue with whatever it is you are doing. A fantastic example is, again, the one that I've put on the screen. The plan to send immigrants in the UK to Rwanda has come under intense scrutiny by the opposition. So the opposition is the opposing party. It's the party that is, typically in politics, you have two parties, don't you? And let's take America, for example. They have the red and the blue party, the Democrats and the Republicans. So the opposing party is not the party that's in power. So in this example, the UK wanted, I should say, I think they've removed this plan now, but they wanted to send any immigrants in the UK that were there illegally to Rwanda. And the opposing party was saying that's against human rights. You know, you can't just send people to a country they never agreed to go to. Protest. Now, I've included this word because protest and strike are two very similar words, but they have slightly different meanings, and I want you to be aware of what the meanings are. So a strike is when a group of employees, a group of workers, stop working, leave work, refuse to work because they want better conditions at work. They want a higher pay, they want more sociable hours, they want a longer lunch break, whatever it is. They want more help with childcare, whatever their reason is, they stop working. This is a strike. Now, a protest is unrelated to a workplace or employees. It's a group of people. They can be strangers, they can be friends, they can be political party, they could be a school, a group of any people that are against something, trying to raise awareness of something. So remember that activist word that I gave you. Activists protest. They write placards, that might be a new word, placards, with whatever it is they're trying to change, and they demonstrate in the street. There's a lot of new words there, I know. So to demonstrate in the street is to walk up and down holding these placards. It's another word for protest, really. Protest is the noun and it's also a verb. I am going to a protest on the weekend. I will be protesting on the weekend. So big difference there. Strike related to work conditions and it's a group of employees. Protest, a group of people. They don't have to be related or work together or even know each other, but they've come together for one same cause. They have one same idea. So next we have to invade or to retreat, and to invade is to enter a country that you're not really welcome in. It's not your country. And to retreat is to run away from something. Now, typically both of these words are used when we're talking about the military, the army. They are combat words. So you only really see these words when we're talking about the war, or as I gave you the example earlier, one country occupying or having occupation of another country. To invade is to enter and to retreat is to leave. To foil. Now, if you Google the word foil, most likely it's going to come up as aluminium foil, which is something we use in the kitchens. But when we're talking about it as a verb rather than a noun, to foil something means to stop a plan happening. Before something can happen, you stop it. And this can be because you found out early on or because somebody has told you. There's another word here that I wasn't planning on telling you, but as I'm making this video, I think it's very appropriate. It is whistleblower. Whistleblower. Now, a whistleblower is somebody that shares secrets with the public that were not supposed to be shared. So the most famous whistleblower in America is Chelsea Manning, who shared secrets about why the attack on Iraq happened. When America invaded Iraq, she shared secrets on this. So, of course, America thinks this is a negative thing, a bad thing, because their secrets have been shared. But being a whistleblower is often considered a good thing. You are a hero because you are sharing something that the public has the right to know. And the reason I'm using this when we talk about foiling is because often a plan is foiled, a strategy is foiled because a whistleblower lets the public or lets somebody know that this is planned to happen. If you don't stop this, this will happen. Inauguration. Now, this is typically only linked with American politics because for example, in British politics, we do not have an inauguration ceremony. But inauguration is when the new president is declared the new president and they have a celebration and people gather in the area outside the White House to celebrate this happening. Now, your country might have inaugurations. It might not. I know in the UK we do not have an inauguration because where the Prime Minister lives is not actually accessible to the public. It's a small road. It's a small private road with lots of houses on it. Number 10 Downing Street. 10 Downing Street is a famous landmark, but actually it's a private road. So we don't have this kind of inauguration celebration. But maybe in your country you do. When you get a new prime minister, a new president, a new leader, people gather and celebrate this happening. And it is the official handing over of the responsibility to the new leader. Conspiracy. Now, the definition of a conspiracy is a secret or illegal or unlawful plan to do something. We do have conspiracies in a more casual situation, like when people say the earth is not round, it's flat. This is a conspiracy because there's no evidence for it. It's just something people believe. But when we talk about a conspiracy to attack, a conspiracy to assassinate, a conspiracy to invade, what we mean is a secret, illegal, unlawful plan to do something. So in this context, in this topic, we're talking about war and politics. So a conspiracy here is a much more negative meaning than the conspiracy we would use on a casual daily basis. You know, my idea of a conspiracy is not the same as a government's idea of conspiracy. My idea of conspiracy might be that the moon landing was faked. Buzz Aldrin did not go to the moon. It was all fake. But the government's idea of a conspiracy is something that could cause harm to the country or the political parties. Treason. Treason is a very specific word, and it means to betray your country in some way. So this could be sharing secrets with the enemy, being a whistleblower. In some countries where nationalism, supporting your country is, number one priority, treason is considered saying anything bad about your country. But in countries that have more freedom, for example, the United Kingdom, treason would be if I actively went and shared secrets that I knew with other countries, with the UK's enemies. So the example I gave you about Chelsea Manning being a whistleblower, she was charged with treason because she was sharing information about her country with people that could use that information to do the country harm. Suspicion just means you suspect, you think something is going to happen. But typically you need evidence to be suspicious of somebody. This isn't like being paranoid. This isn't like being scared. This isn't like I wake up and think somebody's going to do something bad to me. You have some form of evidence to prove that this is going to happen. So for example, the example I put on the screen, the police must have reasonable grounds for suspicion, means they must have some form of evidence before they can search your home, your car, your business, your place of work. Political unrest. Now, as the phrase suggests, unrest, political unrest, means when it's not calm. There is no peace in the country. It's a bit of an understatement for what is happening in the world right now. We could say currently, in these current times, the world is seeing a lot of political unrest. But it's almost like a polite way of saying we have wars, we have arguments between governments. If, for example, you don't want to say war, or you don't want to mention the specific examples, you can use the phrase political unrest to suggest things are not safe at the moment, it's not calm. It's a very broad phrase to just mean we're not in a safe environment at the moment. Many countries are at war, many countries are not making the best decisions, let's put it that way. Captive. If somebody or something is held captive, it means held against their will. They haven't agreed to this. So anyone that is held in a place where they haven't agreed to be and they shouldn't be is considered a captive. Occupation. Now, of course, when we learn English at a more basic level, we know the word occupation to mean your job. It's a more formal way of saying your job. My job is an English teacher. My occupation is an English teacher. But when we talk about occupation related to the war or related to politics, to countries, what we mean is a country invading, there's that word again, invading another country and holding it captive, being in that country when it's not welcomed. I don't need to give you examples. There's two major examples going on in the world right now, but one country is being occupied by another country. In the example I've put on the screen, a total of 65 countries gained their independence after being occupied by the United Kingdom. So years ago, the UK, the British Empire, had control over these countries, and probably these countries didn't necessarily want to be controlled by the United Kingdom. It wasn't something they agreed to. So being under occupation or being occupied by is not something the country agrees to. It's something that happens as a result of war, as a result of political unrest, as a result of invasion. Ceasefire. Ceasefire. Now, cease means to stop. So a ceasefire is an agreement where two or more countries or two or more political parties agree to stop attacking each other. This can happen for a number of different reasons, and if you search on the internet, famous ceasefires or the most influential ceasefires in our history, you will see a list of countries that have agreed to something like this. A ceasefire is a negotiation, a conversation where both countries agree to stop fighting. Civilians. Now you and I, probably you and I, are civilians. A civilian is a person that is not involved in the military, the army, the navy in any way. So normal people, average people, we are civilians. We don't have military training. We don't have access to weapons. We can't drive tanks or military planes. We are just normal people. And the reason we separate military personnel and civilians is so that when a war breaks out, we can identify who is being injured, who is being hurt during these situations. Is it military personnel or is it civilians? Alliances or an alliance. An alliance is when two or more people, countries, groups of people agree to be friends because it benefits them. The most famous alliance is, of course, NATO. NATO countries agree to support each other if anything happens. It's a way of saying, if we get invaded, if we are under occupation, if we need assistance negotiating a ceasefire, we have these countries who are our friends that can help us. Troops. Now, troops is how we refer to military personnel when it's a big group of people. So troops entered a country. Troops will be sent in on this date. We are asking troops to retreat. It's just a large group of military personnel. But you will see this word a lot if you are reading the news about the wars that are happening now. It's a group of soldiers, a group of military trained people. Victory and defeat, possibly very easy if you're watching this video. Victory, of course, means you win, and defeat means you lose. You can use this in a more casual way as well. You know, if you are on a football team and you win, that's a victory for you. My last two words, I'm trying to end this on a positive, so my last two words are somewhat positive. Neutral. Switzerland is a very famous neutral country. So neutral means you do not agree or disagree. You are in the middle. A neutral country doesn't support either side. They are in the middle. And often they take this middle stance because it benefits them in some way, or because they disagree with what is going on. Switzerland is very famously the most neutral country in the world because it's always in that middle area where it doesn't side with one or the other. And my last phrase, my last vocabulary for you today is peace keeping, peacekeeping, or to keep the peace. Now, of course, as it says, this is to do something, an action, say something, advertise something, promote something that keeps the peace, stops arguments from spreading. So, for example, if I see any comments that are targeted towards one particular group of people, I will delete them. Sometimes YouTube deletes them before I even get to see them, but they will be deleted. This is part of peacekeeping. It's an action YouTube has taken to make sure comments stay neutral. And if a country is trying to keep the peace, it means they are aware that something bad could happen, but they are doing their best to keep this peaceful, safe. It doesn't always work. Keeping the peace doesn't always work. Sometimes it makes the problem worse because you're not saying, I agree or disagree. You're just trying to stay neutral. But for the most part, you're doing it with the right intentions. I'm not really sure how to finish this video today, as it's not a very positive topic. I'd usually say something like, I hope you enjoyed this video, but I don't think it's a video for you to enjoy. It's an educational, informative video that I hope has a lot of vocabulary that you can use to help explain your opinion, to help stand up for your country, to help educate people that maybe don't know what's going on in your country, in the world. I'm very aware that this is a difficult time for a lot of people in the world. What is going on affects all of us, even people that aren't in the affected countries. And I want to again emphasize, we are all human. We all have fears, we all have worries, we all have hopes, and we all have dreams. Being able to express yourself properly is how we're going to educate people about what's going on and how we create connections with people. So again, I hope there is some helpful information in there for you today. Please be kind. It takes nothing to be kind to someone. You have no idea what somebody else is going through. Use the words I've given you today wisely and use them well. And thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.